Okay, here's a little bit of a video on a neutral safety switch off of my Thunderbird. So if you might have seen my last video, the switch, I had taken the switch off. I thought it was something else, and it kind of was, but at that point I wasn't really familiar with how the system worked. So I thought this was the control for a feature that these cars have, and other cars have it too, where if your emergency brake is on, if you go to put the car into gear, it'll automatically disengage your e-brake. And so from how I understand it, there's these two vacuum lines which would connect vacuum essentially to a little canister on the e-brake, and through a chain of events, it would, if you put your car into any gear, I don't know if every single gear, but I assume if you moved it out of park into any other gear, it would disengage your parking brake. And my Crown Vic has a system just like that. I found out actually a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know whether or not that one's vacuum, but on this car it's vacuum operated. So I was going to get rid of that, just kind of simplify things, getting the car a lot. But in the process of that, I took this completely off, not knowing that this was actually the neutral safety switch. So that's the first time I'd actually ever really dealt with one. A lot of cars, especially newer cars, will have that on the transmission, and but this car has this on the column. So the steering column, kind of towards the base of it, there's a little slit in the column, and with your shifter, your gear selector, there's basically like a pipe kind of looking thing that will rotate, and that has a slit in it. And this, I'll get to this in a moment, but this little tang had broken off. So how this works, essentially this would be across the board, but specifically for this design here, how this works is as you, so you have your park position, okay, and from my understanding, all vehicles would be the same this way, but the only two gears you can start a vehicle in, barring maybe, I guess, a standard, but as far as automatic goes, automatic transmissions, you can only start the vehicle in park or in neutral. So that's why it's called a neutral safety switch. So you can see what happened with this one is that this had broken off, and I'm actually kind of thankful I did take this off, because otherwise I wouldn't really thought of it. And I know this is one thing that they test on for an out of province inspection or insurance inspection. They make sure your neutral safety switch works. So it's kind of there's different reasons for this. The biggest one is probably safety, because if you accidentally go to start your car in a gear, it'll just kind of lurch forward, and if you're working on it or somebody's in front of you, you could run them over or whatever. But it's also going to be hard on your vehicle, on your transmission, just not good in general. So how this works is where it broke off is actually in the park position. So it was working, the vehicle would start and stuff, but this actually was not working properly because this had busted off. It was just kind of inside of this. But I can see where it broke off was in the park position, and it's quite dirty there. I don't know if you can see. I mean, it's quite dirty in general, but theirs is quite dirty where it broke off. So this has been broken for quite some time, but it was broken off. So it would start in park. Now, I don't remember for sure whether or not, but I think I had started in neutral as well. But it's possible that this, the way it works could have different configurations. But essentially, how it should work is that when your gear selector is in park, it'll allow it to start. But basically what happens is this part inside slides, and it will make your different connections. And then, as far as I know, also on this one, and on most other neutral safety switches, that also controls your reverse lights. So when you put your car in reverse, you have your white reverse lights that turn on. And this would be what controls that as well, because it acts as a dual sensor. And I think depending on the vehicle, it will be a little different. So anyway, so that's kind of a rundown of how this works. But I gotta find out why well, I know it broke off. It's because it's plastic, but I gotta figure out a way to fix this. So I think I covered all the bases on how this works. If anybody has any questions, you can just put it in the comment section. But I have a little bit of contact cleaner here, electrical contact cleaner. I'm just going to clean it a little bit. I have a couple ideas. The other thing too I'll mention is this mounts this way on the car. So say your steering wheel was, sorry, I'm not in the camera. Say your steering wheel was my hand, it would face this way. And you can actually see here, see, get you up in the camera. It's kind of dirty, but that says neut for neutral. So that's your neutral position to kind of help orientate things. Basically, this goes on, and it was secured with a hose clamp. And then on this side of the steering column, there's two little tangs kind of to hold in place, from riding up. And then it just kind of sits there, and then this engages with the little slot on the steering column. So then that makes and or breaks your connection. So I was able to find, I think one place was supposed to make a reproduction of this, but they're out of stock, and they're like switching websites and stuff. So and also last time I checked, they didn't ship to Canada. And then I was able to find some new old stock ones of these online, but like anything like that, they want an arm and a leg. I think on average, like the cheaper ones, used ones that I was seeing were like, I don't know, $200 something US. So very expensive. But this one, as far as I know, is original to the car, because you might not be able to see it on camera, but right here it says C8 and then has some different numbers. And for Ford part numbers, C stands for 60 and 8 is the year within that decade. So this would be a 68. My car's a 68. So as far as I know, this is correct. But it's definitely been under there for a while. I have no reason to think that it doesn't work. I mean, there's other reasons this could fail too, like your connections could go or whatever. But in this case, I think it still works. And like I said, with it hooked up the way it is, it will allow the car to start. But technically, it's not correct because it'll only start. Well, it's not even reading any gear. It broke off in the park position. But I know when they go to test that, they test to make sure your neutral safety switch works. So as far as taking this apart goes, I haven't actually attempted this yet. But there's little tangs that fold over, and I've encountered this a few times on the Thunderbird with like control boxes and stuff where you can open them. So I'm going to take a look at this and dive into it. See if I can get it apart. But essentially what I think I'm going to try to do is refabricate this part out of aluminum, out of like 1/8 aluminum or some steel or something like that. So I don't know if this is readily going to come apart, so I'm probably not going to waste your time taking it apart. But anyways, that is how a neutral safety switch works, specifically on this car. And other cars, a lot of GM and Chevys have a very similar design. Honestly, most old cars that I've seen are this exact style where they mount on the column, and they have some different kind of, some of them might have a little wire that comes down, but something connects with the steering column. As you select your gears, it'll move and select your different positions. And like I said, most of them will probably control your reverse lights from my understanding as well. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Anyways, so I'm going to dive into this. Hopefully I'll be able to find a solution to fix it. But just to put that out there, and you can override these. It's not rocket science. Basically, you know, you just have to find which wires you need to connect on your other end of your pigtail to bypass it. But it's not a good idea, honestly, and it's not like it's really, you know, it's a safety feature, but it also makes it more convenient because you don't accidentally start in gear, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. So anyways, hopefully that was helpful, and thanks for watching.